The Isle of Man, ancient secrets, Viking kings, and a nation without a country. In the cold grey waters of the Irish Sea lies a small, wind-swept island often overlooked by history books. It's not part of the United Kingdom. It's not part of Ireland. It's not even fully independent. Yet it has its own parliament, its own language, its own currency, and a culture shaped by Celts, Vikings, and spirits of the old world. This is the Isle of Man, an island with a past far bigger than its size would suggest. Let's take a deep dive into the forgotten jewel of the British Isles. A land of warriors, kings, colonisers, rebels and fairies. A land between worlds. The Isle of Man lies at the centre of the Irish Sea, cradled between England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales. A mere 33 miles long and 13 miles wide, it might seem modest, but its location has always been strategic. For ancient mariners and later Viking raiders, this island was a perfect midway point, a stronghold and a gateway between worlds. It wasn't just a land to conquer, it was a land to control. It is here, on this isolated rock, that thousands of years of layered history have quietly unfolded. First footprints, prehistoric settlers. The story begins over 8,000 years ago. Mesolithic hunter-gatherers made their way across land bridges that once connected Britain and Ireland. They left behind stone tools, ancient hearths and burial mounds. In places like Meal Hill, archaeologists have found 12 burial cairns arranged in a circle, ritualistic, powerful and eerily precise. It's one of the earliest signs that the island was more than just a place to survive. It was sacred. By the Bronze and Iron Ages, the Isle of Man had become a part of the Celtic world. Hill forts dotted the landscape, roundhouses filled the valleys, and the ancestors worshipped a pantheon of gods tied to nature, the sun and the dead, the Celtic era and the birth of man. The island's name, Man, may derive from Manananan, Maclear, the Celtic sea god believed to rule the mist and protect the island from invaders. This connection to the divine sea isn't just poetic. In a time when lands were constantly raided, the thick fogs that rolled in from the ocean may have seemed like a gift from the gods, keeping the island hidden. The Manx language, closely related to Irish and Scottish Gaelic, emerged during this time. Spoken by farmers, druids and chieftains, it became the voice of a people who saw themselves as distinct from their neighbours. Even then, Vikings and the Kingdom of the Isles. In the 9th century, the silence of the Manx shores was broken by the thunder of Norse longships. The Vikings didn't just raid, they settled. They married into local families. They brought new gods, new laws and new rulers. The Isle of Man became part of the Kingdom of the Isles, ruled from time to time by powerful Norse warlords who also controlled parts of western Scotland and even Dublin. One such figure was Godred Crovan, a Norse Gaelic king who seized the island around 1079. His dynasty, the Crovan dynasty, ruled for nearly 2 centuries. Under the Norse, the island flourished, blending Celtic and Scandinavian culture into something entirely new. The Manx adopted Viking customs, but never lost their old beliefs entirely. Even today, Norse runes, burial mounds, and Norse Celtic crosses mark the land. Tynwald, 1,000 years of lore. Perhaps the most extraordinary gift of the Norse is Tynwald, the island's parliament. Founded in the early 10th century, Tynwald is the oldest continuous parliament in the world, and it still operates today. Each year on Tynwald Day, laws are proclaimed aloud in both English and Manx on a ceremonial mound at St John's, just as they were over a millennium ago. This ancient tradition surviving war, occupation and empire, is a powerful symbol of Manx autonomy and resilience. Battles for control, Scots, English and Lords of Man. As the Norse era ended, the island's fate became a political tug-of-war. In the 13th and 14th centuries, Scotland and England fought bitterly for control of the island. It changed hands multiple times, with the Manx people often caught in the middle. Eventually it was brought under English influence, but not directly governed. Instead it was handed over to noble families. First the Stanleys, then the Dukes of Atholl, who ruled as Lords of Man. Even today the reigning British monarch is officially the Lord of Man, currently King Charles III, though the role is mostly symbolic. Through all these changes, the Manx people retained their language, laws and land customs, smuggling, secrecy and self-reliance. By the 18th century, the island had developed a reputation for smuggling. Its low taxes and remote location made it a haven for pirates, traders and fugitives from British law. The British government, unhappy with the flow of illegal goods, eventually stepped in and tightened control, but never made the Isle of Man a full part of the UK. The island became self-reliant, surviving through fishing, farming and sea trade. It remained different, a little wild, a little lawless, but always proudly Manx. The Manx language, death and rebirth. The Manx language suffered greatly under British cultural dominance. By the early 20th century, it was nearly extinct. The last native speaker, Ned Madrill, died in 1974. But something remarkable happened. The language was revived. Today, Manx is taught in schools. There's a Manx medium primary school. Apps, radio shows and music help spread the language. It's even returned to everyday signs and ceremonies. It's one of the few languages in the world to go from extinct to revived. Myths and the other world. Manx folklore is rich, eerie and ever-present. Travellers still greet the fairies at Ferrybridge, whispering "Hello fairies" to avoid misfortune. It's not just a tourist gimmick, it's a tradition locals still follow. There are tales of Moddy-Doo, a ghostly black dog said to haunt Peel Castle, and stories of Buggan, malevolent creatures that destroy churches by night. In a world ruled by reason, the Isle of Man remains a place where myth and reality sit side by side. Modern man, autonomy and identity today. Today the Isle of Man is self-governing, with its own parliament, legal system and currency, the Manx pound tied to sterling. It is not part of the UK. It is not part of the EU. It is a crown dependency, a unique arrangement that allows for independence in most areas except foreign policy and defence. The island has a thriving finance sector, a booming tourism trade and a legendary reputation thanks to the Isle of Man TT races, the fastest, deadliest motorcycle races on earth. More than anything, the island retains a fierce sense of identity, the spirit of man. The Isle of Man is a land that has walked with giants, Vikings, saints and kings. It's a place where ancient laws are still read aloud, where the sea god's mist still rolls in, and where a forgotten language now sings again. The island may be small, but its history, colossal. So next time you cross the Irish Sea, listen closely. You might just hear the whispers of the past, blown in by the wind, carried on the sea, spoken in the language of man. Subscribe for more legendary islands and hidden histories.